that are doing plans.
Sorry, Joe.
All right. But there's Lake George, there's some different ones that here, that we found, and actually Maria had actually found a few of these, I think, way back from the early days. But, that, and then the forms, we want to streamline the forms a lot more too, but that's kind of, I think, secondary to trying to get the actual guidance. Because I know Karen had mentioned having more of a standardized, I think, spreadsheet form for the budget, so it's easy for you. I mean, whatever's easiest too for you as the intake person of it all.
Hi, Peter.
It's up here.
Yep, should be here.
You know, some of the stuff came up too. I know dates is a big thing, so the date, we moved everything forward because of St. Patrick's Day parade, but that is maybe an issue now that the selectmen will just be handling that. So I don't know that we necessarily need to be the beginning of September like that we did before. I mean, I think earlier is good too, but I don't know that we needed to be on that. I mean, they originally wanted it in August or July or something, I think, so. So the dates I think we can look at, percentage of the funding. We looked at some stuff like the for-profits. I believe we had 3 years, look like, so seed money. So people just know coming into this, hey, you're a brand new thing, you're a for-profit. We're looking at doing this for 3 years. So this isn't gonna be, you know, the forever funding source. So we can try to use the money to attract more new things. We do know that those nonprofits are some of them, like the Seaside, that has just a huge town. It just costs so much to do business with the town. Those ones probably not going to survive without some sort of help. We looked at different percentages. So it's, if you're going to come in, you're going to come in and ask for money that, you know, we're going to grant, you know, we'd only give you like 50% or whatever percent we may come in. That was another one that we looked at, another question. And then we can always do restrictions on stuff too. You know, a lot of it was originally towards marketing and that type of stuff. You know, some events need more operational money, or like police details, fire details, and that type of stuff. And some events that, so, you know, hopefully this will be more work, narrow things down a little bit more, so it's not quite as wide open as it was, or that, and then try to get rid of some of the, not try to get rid of, I guess, but try to, some of the long-term, or maybe offsetting the budget more than helping as much, that we can try to get them onto either other funding sources, or just not that it's forever, because I mean, we don't know that the money is going to be forever. It's definitely, no, because it used to be originally, I think when it started, at least when I first started to apply, it was only, you had to be a nonprofit to do it. Then we opened it up, I don't know how long ago, quite a while ago, it got opened up for the for-profits. But the rules kind of all stayed the same, you know, and, you know, things not necessarily to pick on anybody, like what have we done, like 3 years worth of the Pirate Fest, you know, where that is a profit one. So it's like, do we fund that for 5 more years? Or do we, you know, we give them seed money, get them off the ground, and hope they're gonna run.
Did you consider any other ways to say that? Just thinking about that in terms of the for-profit, normally 3 consecutive years. Did you ever talk about maybe no less than and no more than, so that they can make some plans to try to get off the ground? Like they can do a 3-year projection.
I think some of that just comes with our the state procurement laws, where
Yeah.
we can't commit to anything beyond what we're doing procurement.
Okay.
So I mean, we can,
That's a good point.
you know, we could say that, you know, things that once we funded it or favorably looked at to continue, but I don't know that we can lock ourselves in just to make sure.
You
Yeah.
can't commit. I mean, if
The
you
funds
wanted
that
to
aren't there
give
yet.
them $50,000 out of this year's money, you'd be for the next 3 years, say, right? If you want, or
Wow.
let's call it 45. You want to give them 15 for the next 3, you could, but you're going to encumber all of that money. You can't say 15 from this year, 15 from next year, and 15 from the next. You don't have that money.
Yeah, that would be an option, I guess.
Mhm.
But then we would have to change the thing too, because it's always been event shall take place in that calendar year. So it's part of the thing. So if we would have to change our criteria to say that it could be a multi-year.
I'd want to run that by the accounting department too. Make sure. Why?
And I don't know that we should be guaranteeing anybody anything either, like that. I mean, I kind of like that we look at it because I mean,
It could be a no.
Mhm.
right, and I think too, you give somebody a bunch of money up front, then they expect it, they keep expecting it. Sorry about that. Yeah.
We're done.
You beat it.
Texas guy.
You know, when it bombs the first year,
Seriously?
The hands free.
Yeah.
lack of planning per se.
Did you give thought to how you'd handle the for-profits that are in place now? So like,
So that would be the question. So is it 3 years from
When?
now? Because we're now changing rules, but that said, there's no guarantee of funding at any point. But I think when we do like a major rule change that I think it would be wrong to personally to just stop it. You've already had it for the last 3 years. Now we change the rules and you gotta, I think that wouldn't be fair per se. Because I think everything's taken by evaluation. And depending on how many applications that we get too. I mean, if we get $300,000 worth of funding and we only have 140, that's different than if we only get $100,000 worth of requests and we have 142. Then again, even then, we don't necessarily need to spend it all. And that's,
and you didn't have, I mean, you only have, I put the old spending up on the screen. The only for-profit things are Codstock and
Yeah.
the Pirate Festival.
Yeah. Yeah.
The rest of I mean, Papalooza, I think, no, Papalooza was a nonprofit.
Right.
Nobody else.
Yeah, I'm all for that, a date certain after this year or something, 3 years out. Well, profits. I think that's a good one.
I don't even know if we have to give them 3 more years, but we could give them,
Just give me a heads
still
up.
consider them this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, cause I'm not sure. Again, we don't have that many, but the pirate one, if they need 3 more years of funding, that's a lot of.
Yeah.
Funding.
I go 1 or 2 more years, I'm okay with that.
right, they wouldn't be disqualified. I think it's really what
Yeah.
we look at. So they can still apply and that's just gonna be merit something. You don't look at the history. Is it gonna be able to sustain it? It's not able to sustain itself. Is it worth still investing in it?
Do you wanna have the word consecutive in there? Like, if they did it twice, are we now saying like,
Every other.
yeah, like I just, in a 4-year period, right? If they did it twice and then took a year off, this is saying they could do it, apply again that 4th year.
And that was what Papalooza did, because Papalooza,
Was
it
every
was
other.
such a big event. They couldn't kind of do it every year. They
They-
had to,
they said
it was
that.
like a 2-year planning
Right,
effort.
that's right. I
For
remember that.
them.
Yep.
Yeah, so
That's
that's
a good
that
point.
was cool.
It was cool.
Papalooza was fun with the swimming dogs and jumping dogs and.
Mhm. It was a-
Good dog.
Yeah, that was well done.
Yeah, so I would agree with that. More than 3 years opposed to the consecutive, I would definitely. And then just like with eligible expenses too is another one is back to, do we wanna? That went back to the originally was supposed to be mostly marketing and then it was some production costs. But things like police and fire details, those costs, but what? We do have a limit we've had in the past, and the old ones, it's like, there were certain things I think you weren't supposed to. Be buying with it, like airplane tickets and alcohol and the normal stuff, but.
Mhm.
But I think we could further limit stuff if we so choose, or some of that could be more individual, but I think that we need to give people this a basic idea of where we're looking, but.
I was thinking about waiting towards certain things, like waiting towards marketing.
Right, I think that was part of, the criteria that we're looking at, that's towards for the evaluation criteria. But I think too, you have a larger event. like a Seaside or even the St. Patrick's Day Parade, those ones need less marketing because they've been going on for so long,
Mm.
but they need more. If you get a,
Logistical.
if you get a $10,000 or $20,000 bill from the town, they need that operational support more than they need the marketing, because they already have that word of mouth, I guess.
And they're kind of as big as they can be.
Right. There's only so much that you can expand in the real estate they have and or the surrounding areas. So I think
But then
for,
it becomes a question of their accounting, right? Because they can pull their money for, let's say, the $20,000 bill for the town can be from entry fees for vendors. They could use that specifically for it.
They generally use it for fireworks, which is real easy. One thing we don't do is audit. You know, we don't audit the report. So we get an invoice for fireworks. They show a check that's paid to the fireworks company that's been cashed. And then we'll reimburse them.
I like that approach. I don't know if we can weave that in.
The reimbursement?
No, the way you like you just pointed out, Seaside. Give them 25, they know 25 is a part of the overall budget, but 25 covers the fireworks.
I prefer that.
I think
As
that's a
a-
cleaner
from
way
an
to do things.
Administrative
Isn't
point
that
of
what we did
view.
last year in our
Yeah,
motions?
we
Yeah.
did that for them. On
Yeah.
some of them, I can give you an example. So Don Marie's out, so I'm paying bills right
Mhm.
now.
Yep.
And so I'm going through the Pirate Festival bill, and it's not easy.
No,
Because he has performers that he paid with Venmo. And I have to figure out how we're gonna do that, and does he keep records of who worked when and that type of thing. So it's kind of, the broader it is, you know, and then it was a big improvement over last year. But it's, it's little receipts, job lot, Shaw's, this, that, the other thing, it's.
so is there a way that we can weave that into this stuff here, or do we just want to leave it a contractual thing?
I mean, I think if we weave it in, it's gonna end up being that we're mostly paying the town.
I think this is just
Well,
saying
I
what
would-
you can spend
I
on
would-
and what you
I would
can't
say
spend on.
no.
And the motion is what.
I'm just saying, if you want bigger ticket items, right, like if we don't
Right.
want
Ex-
100
ex-
little job lots.
Excluding the
Right.
town, excluding police and fire.
What's your next biggest expense? You got fireworks, we paid for that. But like Pirate Festival. I'm just saying like,
No, I know,
yeah, like
There's,
otherwise,
I mean, I think that like in terms of categories of what we see for reimbursement, it's things like. Taylor Bray Farm, we pay for the tent.
Yeah.
The big tent,
Yeah.
and that's a nice big.
Yeah, that's
ticket item.
infrastructure.
Yeah. Seaside Festival again was the fireworks, parade might be, different acts
Mhm.
or
Well,
kind of performers.
well, if we all feel, Courtney just pointed out infrastructure, if you feel, and we all feel that the tent's big enough to, that word's big enough to include things that you can go after, I'm okay with that. We can just say, we can point to that.
we just also just say we won't pay for items that are less than $500 or less than $1,000. So all those
That's
little,
that's a
Just
better
for a
approach
start, I like
than
that. I feel
itemizing
bad.
it.
For like the
Yeah.
startups.
But I
that
think-
don't know.
but I think everybody's gonna have, I mean, I think of too, if we go back to making a percentage, we're gonna fund a
Mhm.
percentage of this, say it's 50%. That means that we're giving them 20 grand, they still have to come up with 20 grand. So with their 20 grand, they can
go
they
to-
can pay the job lots and they can pay
Hmm.
the little things, and then the bigger ticket items for financial accounting. As long as they're still appropriate expenses,
Mhm.
that just might be easier for us to analyze as well as easier for you to just pay and keep track of.
Mhm.
And not to throw, I'm cool with that, not to throw no curveball here, but is it way out there to say that we don't want to pay for traffic control, police or fire?
I think that.
I think you're gonna end up
that's-
robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah, yeah.
Think so?
Mhm.
So the Lake George area appendix B has a very detailed list that we can just use that if we want to. Those are-
Just finish that last thought about it, ineligible expenditures. Did you want to qualify it next, saying ineligible expenditures? Airfare, hotel, meals, alcohol, and things under a certain amount of money.
I think we just said though that. So, like some of these people that, some of their things are gonna be lower expenses. I don't wanna disqualify people because
Right.
little guys are gonna be looking to do.
I mean, I think that just what's most helpful is when we're in the, when you take in the application.
Yeah.
And people say, we will say in the application, maybe we can clarify this, because we'll say, how do you plan to spend your money? And it's like, oh, production. And that's like a big giant umbrella of expenses. So you want to have like itemized things. One thing CPA does is they ask for estimates.
Yeah.
Like cost estimates. So that might be something to consider. But it's when you have the interviews and you hear more about the budget and what they're gonna do, then you cherry pick the
Yeah.
items you wanna
Okay.
cover.
Okay,
Will we get more to cherry pick though? Will we get more to cherry pick? You said a bar.
I'm not in favor of setting a bottom limit.
Yeah, I think it may discourage smaller
It is, it's gonna,
types of events.
yeah.
Is it
Because they
presumed,
have smaller costs and they wanna pay to print flyers.
Maybe if there's instructions on reimbursement, you know, if they know ahead of time, it's $50. They're gonna maybe organize themselves. So that when they submit the receipts for reimbursement, you know, instead of saying, oh, all the job lot receipt.
Yeah, you just have to make it more detailed, like the Lake George one is pretty detailed, instead of just saying advertising, it's. How much is your Google display, Facebook, Instagram, billboard, banner, poster, other outdoor, like. They're breaking it down in different things.
Yeah, and that's why, like, honestly, going back in time,
gotta-
that's why the budget that we had
Yeah.
was so overly detailed.
Yeah,
Because we were trying to
get them to say it all.
get them to say it all, and kind of for newer events that, you know, are upstart, they might not have thought of all this stuff.
Yeah,
And go, oh yeah, what about that? That kind of thing, because that list is exhaustive.
yeah. Is there things you want in there though, from a staff perspective of how we accept the, like,
You're saying a
I don't, yeah,
Venmo.
like, I don't know that Venmo is like.
Right, I
don't
think,
that-
I
like,
think
that
that
makes me
that's,
disappointed. That's
it's a
not,
contractual thing.
Yeah.
And it's just because, but I think about it, and it's how people do business a lot of times.
yeah, but like, the
And
Venmo thing, like, I wanna see the back end of that, like, how
Well,
did he determine the rate that he's sending?
There
to
was a
them?
contract. He had a
Yeah, I
contract
just
and it
don't
was
like the
their mode of
Venmo payment.
Well, and we haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah, I just think that's weird. Like, it's just a weird way to submit.
Mhm.
a
But he's
rate
gonna
person.
need to provide proof that they work
Yeah,
somehow. Contract is a contract,
yeah,
but you wanna see that the work is executed.
yeah. Especially because he constantly posts on Facebook that he has people dropping out at the last minute, so
Mm.
I don't wanna be paying people who didn't show up but are still hassling him, like. That's a tricky event, that's just gonna go.
I think it's, Danielle, to answer your question, it's kind of like the completeness of things. And I think that one of those samples that you guys provided, I think they don't get paid until they do their final report.
Yeah.
And our kind of reporting, I mean, I could show you, some of them are really good. The Pirate Festival is very good. Some of them are very lackluster. And, you know, but it's kind of ticking the box. They did the form, they get the money. And that's that. But if we wanted to kind of raise the bar for reimbursement, that, you know,
Yeah, whatever
Something to
most
think
people
about.
to you at
Yeah.
that.
yeah,
But yeah,
and most of them are great.
and it helps them to be better prepared, like they, like you said, like they don't know what this concert can be, and then if we get them to go into the nitty gritty, they're just better prepared for themselves. Later, like for future events too.
I think the, yeah.
okay.
Did you want to go through?
You wanna go
your, like your edit?
I
Or,
thought that's where you guys want to go.
When we start right at the top. Events for consideration, type of event. The community, economic.
Oh, we were trying to, so we tried to break out the event, so there was a community event and an economic development event, so,
Yeah.
and then profit versus nonprofit, so they're kind of all intertwined together, so your community event would be those ones that would have more long-term funding. The economic development events would be those ones that will hopefully more towards that seed money to get them up and running. And And that we're trying to do that, use that to break up a little bit better towards the evaluation criteria. And then and a lot of time that's gonna go back for that for-profit and the nonprofit. Community events. I mean, it could be a little bit of a for-profit, but in most cases, it's gonna be an economic development event. But we do have even the small ones like the Brave Farm, or it's community event. I mean, they're raising money too for their event, but it's really a community event. Same with like Seaside Festival or even St. Patrick's Day Parade. Those are more community events.
Yep.
Now they do have they all have those economic development parts of it because they're putting heads in beds, especially the big ones, but it's really the community. They're more like that 51% community, I think. So we're trying to just break that out a little bit.
So is
different
one
again.
indirect and one is direct? Economic impact,
Yeah,
is the
Yeah.
community event kind of more indirect, and then economic development is the
Yeah.
3-day concert.
yeah, that's what I would say.
Right.
Like, I'm thinking of those new Payomet concerts, right? Like, they're a
Mhm.
community event, like I would say, but they're also an economic development event, because Payomet is gonna draw people in the
Mhm.
off season to go to a concert in Yarmouth rather than going all the way to Truro where they would normally see them.
Yeah.
But it certainly is like a community event, because they're doing it at a time of year that benefits our community.
Do we want to, this is throwing it out on the table, do we want to split the 140 up half and half, 50-50?
No,
No, okay.
Well, and you have, so, you have more than now.
We have the money back from
Because
Codfest this
You're gonna
year.
get the money back. This is the spreadsheet from the beginning of July. I didn't fix it for the cod stock. But you have 150,421. And then you're gonna put back the cod stock. So you've got $190,000.
Doesn't mean we have to spend it all though this year.
Exactly.
But that said, do we even want to put the 140,000 on do we need to, or is it?
I think it's helpful just to let people know that, like,
Yeah.
there's not like 10,
Yeah.
They could,
So if we did want to go over a little bit, we can always go under, but if we wanted to go over, does that?
well, I would
Gotcha.
say. What, well, I think it depends on if we put the up to or not.
What if we added what we paid out last year or the prior year so that they understand, if you want them to see a number so that they're motivated
So what did we do last year?
and say,
140.
Yeah, so we just say,
We anticipate, or something like anticipate awarding.
last
As we did last
year's
year.
awards were X, last year's awards, last year we had 10 awards at 140,000 or
Yeah, I
something.
think you keep to 140, and if we see we get some applications that go over that and they're good, we can always
Yeah.
entertain it.
so just.
What can we-
Yeah, can I go back to some wordsmithing too, now that you bring it up, Courtney, so the header of events for consideration, right? I'm trying to clean this up a little bit for my own clarity. Type of event, you defined it. Community versus economic development event. I just wrote in here, I scratched out for-profit versus nonprofit status, and I put type of applicant. So I've got type of event and type of applicant. And then it's delineated for-profit versus nonprofit. So maybe if that makes some sense, maybe instead of events for consideration, it could be headed as something else.
Applicant status.
Well, it's two different. things.
You could do.
An event or an applicant. The applicant is.
Right, that's what I'm saying. The header doesn't fit the type
Then
of,
just,
can
then
fix
just
that.
do under, and then just do a line under events and do type applicants for consideration. That's how I would do it. Cause it's two different things.
yeah, no, I get it.
So-
It doesn't,
so then-
but I thought that they were being combined here. That's why I was a little bit, I was trying.
It's really the differentiation is really, we're for the nonprofit, we're really just saying, we're not gonna keep funding you after a certain amount of time.
Yeah, no,
All that we're saying to the applicant, so
I understand why it's being delineated.
we're talking the same thing, I think. So if you just put applicants instead of events, then I think we're getting to exactly what you're saying about the
So you
Yeah.
bring applicants for consideration above,
Wherever it goes, but yeah,
I'll fix it.
applicant, yeah, applicant versus, yeah,
That's
event,
a good
exactly.
point. I'll fix it.
Yeah,
If we're differentiating how we fund for for-profits versus nonprofits, do we need them to show they're a nonprofit?
they do show their.
Yeah, they have to show it.
Yeah, they have to show their 501c. Yeah,
So where would you put the, just thinking about what we have and what we'd likely to see again, where would you put the, like, the cultural center? Yes, I mean, it does,
Community-
and to some
community.
extent, it doesn't really, matter.
No,
I mean,
community,
unless we're weighting one or the other.
community event, I would say.
yeah, they're definitely community event. I don't know their technical tax status,
I think
but
it's
I
Yeah.
mean,
for profit.
I think they're not.
Yeah, not for profit.
I feel like we've funded a lot of their stuff.
Mm.
That's like a lot of. Yeah,
Let's say for-profit versus nonprofit, is some of what we're really getting at paid events versus free events?
yes and no. I
'Cause I
mean,
feel like that's kind of what we.
but I don't want to differentiate between that though, because like you can still host a paid event if you're a nonprofit.
Absolutely.
You're just not, you know, like it's not. We're really getting at, we're not funding the Codstock for 3 years plus. We're not funding this parade for more than, I mean, honestly, any longer, but yeah, I mean,
You sure
Parade
about
would have been
that?
nonprofit.
Careful.
but I mean, these big things, we're not funding these big things any long, like, we're not here to fund these big events. I mean, like, honestly, like, I don't know, like, I just think, yeah, it's definitely like a free versus paid, but you know, Taylor Bray charges small donation fees and parking at their events, like,
Mhm.
it's, yeah.
Yeah.
I think nonprofit is like,
I think that the difference is that goes back in, and maybe like the cultural center, it should go back in.
yeah, and it's like paying for their
to
staff and stuff.
operations,
Yeah,
yeah.
like, yeah, I think it's just like those things, but I mean, there is, I think in one of these does talk about like paid admission versus not, but,
staff,
Cultural.
all right, I'm just,
no, they're paying, they're using it all for marketing.
but like, when in their budget are
No,
they
but their
covering
event
marketing
fees.
too?
I'm saying that event fees go into kind of the operation. But
Where's
the
the-
event fees aren't going back into marketing. I mean, they might, be,
One of these has.
but they're going into operation.
The money that they're getting from is going towards marketing.
Yes, yes.
I'm just saying, like, we have events that, like, the cultural center are $100 plus tickets. I think, right? Like cultural center, some of those.
Some of them are, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
that- And I'm good with it. I'm just, I feel like that's
Too
kind of
high.
what we're talking about without talking about it.
No, it's definitely a part of that. Yes, a part of it is what you're charging for the events and where that's gonna go. I'm trying to find the one that talks about it, but we can word it a different way.
Right, and I mean, we probably do need to tighten up on, this is like the first time we've really kind of looked at this in many years. It probably is going to be further tightening of it. So, right, do we want to, so like a cultural center, which is probably what I'd say closest to a business, a nonprofit business that we're giving funding to. Because it's just a big operation. They have staff, like, I don't know that really anybody else has full-time staff that we're giving money to. So it is a totally different beast than the things. And some of the things, some of the places, and this goes back to some of the places that we reviewed, it was only outdoor events, it was all like weekend events. It wasn't a lot, a lot of these places, the idea is that basically like the hit and run, come in, do your event and you're done, not that with the cultural centers, hey, we're doing, 100 events in a year. I don't know that that was maybe ever the idea of this, because you could have, the Gory Museum, you could have the Pirate Museum, you could have all these other groups that are even for profit, or even if they're not, like, I think Gory is nonprofit, and the Pirate Museum might even be nonprofit to go, but they could all be approaching. And are we, do we want to be funding like museums? And I know it was like 2 years ago, even the cultural center, I think had used the word museum somewhere, and that was kind of like, hey, is this what we wanted? I don't know that was the original intent of this. It was to kind of do those, bring in an event quickly, get a whole bunch of people here, introduce them to the town and move on, opposed to that
I mean, it's also,
whole year long event, but
Yeah.
that's something we need to,
it's also. what
we need
asked
to
for the
analyze a little
revenue.
bit more, I think. It's not that it's not a good, not that there's not a lot of good going on there, it's just, what do we want now in 2024, because when this was designed years ago, things have changed between now and then. What do we want this special event fund to be for?
Activities.
Do we want it activities? Do we
We want
want it
fund
just
activities.
outdoors? Do we want it to, offset a year-long marketing campaign? I think probably everybody's got a little bit different take on it, so.
I think the fee thing though comes into like when we ask them about their revenue, their budget isn't just their expenditures, it's also their revenue. And if we see that they're asking us for money and they're gonna be making quadruple that amount.
Well, that was a question that came up a while back too, when you were looking at the budget. Is it just the budget of the event?
I think we need to ask
Or
for
is it the
revenues too.
budget of the enterprise?
Well, this one is like, this one isn't here, just the event, and it's like donations, cash on hand.
Right, because again, I think it came up this last year. I think it was the cultural center. I think it was the YD Red Sox, that they only included their
Yeah.
marketing portions of
Right.
their events. So it's like, all right, hey, we got $1 million budget for both these, but you're really only putting in your $100,000 or whatever that you're doing for that. So it's really hard to analyze. And again, that goes back to, it's not, special event. It's, whole summer isn't like of baseball, to me, is not necessarily a special event, or a whole year of programming is not necessarily a special event. And maybe we need to better define that, or maybe we don't need to better define that, but for a long time, we didn't, I think when I first started, there weren't a ton of applicants that were applying for it. And now it's getting to be a little more competitive, and we're cutting things down, and there's, people like the Codfest that are coming and going, hey, we got a great idea, we want to do this, and it sounds great to feed them, to get them going. Which is great, because I don't, we had the Pirate Festival, we've had some other small stuff that's gone. And again, we can feed them. Hopefully they're gonna be able to grow on their own after.
Yep.
But those, the long term, like the things that are more than. I think, and I don't know, maybe that's why they did have like outdoor events, maybe because you're thinking outdoor events are not long term, like more long term, but do we want to restrict it more now or even in the future? I mean. Because it gets hard to analyze those like things that are longer than, say, a weekend or 2 weekends type of thing.
Caution
For the event.
against people funding from the YD Red Sox and the cultural center. We're gonna be back in that same parade room that we were placed in before.
Well,
Dicey situation. I'm just.
clearly the Red Sox need us, because they keep coming back and they don't, no, none of them ever charge a fee, and I don't know where else they're gonna go for their grants. But that's the other thing we need to find out too, is their grants. But like what, but like, I don't know, like you said, like the cultural center is putting on these events that cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Like, at what point, like. I don't know, like, there's just these places that keep seeming to do bigger and bigger things. That cost more and more money, but I'm like, where's the balancing act in that? Like, do you just keep putting on bigger and bigger events that you want to charge more money for, but then like. Are you just continuing that cycle? Like,
But
you
is,
get more money, so you put on bigger events and then you keep getting more money, like, but then like, what do we? And how come like that isn't like marketing isn't just like in their overall operating?
but what's the impact you're looking for? Is it
I think
heads
that's
and
the,
beds and people in restaurants?
not
Or
really,
are
I think,
there other benefits?
well, that's what
And then you can ask them, how did they do?
the community versus economic, like that, I would love to know about the cultural center, what they're bringing in heads and beds. Cause they're doing these big events, and are they really just people who are already here? Or are they tapping into a broader audience? Like to say, we have this really great exhibit coming, come down to Cape Cod for this and make a thing out of it. But I can't tell if they know what they are, if they
One
want
of
to do
them-
community or
one of the-
economic.
There was like questions in one of your examples.
This was the,
Maybe it was.
of the,
Well,
visitor-
they had day visitors projected, overnight visitors, overnight accommodations, average month say,
They did,
That's yeah, which category? High impact, medium impact, low impact?
they
Yeah.
did, as I recall, the cultural center did submit some information on that, bids.
and they
Whatnot,
say
they
it
did.
was the Airbnb and across the street, and those were definitely measurable.
I mean, a lot of what we're talking about, it sounds like, and I'm kind of, I still consider myself new to this, is it can be sort of fleshed out during the interview.
Yeah.
I think, right? I mean, so there's no way we're gonna be able to
No.
fine tune this to deal with everything that's in our heads.
No, we're gonna exclude.
Based on
people. We're gonna
experience.
Look at this and say, I can't apply for
Right.
this. So like, it's all in the interview. Like, this is literally a solicitation and we're saying we want a
Right.
community event or an economic development
Yep.
event. And I guess either like, you can charge a fee or you can't, but like,
So I think no matter what's on here looks good, and I say we roll with it, and then during the interview process,
Yeah.
we're allowed to ask more questions to one group than we would another if there's a history of.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that comes into like the evaluation criteria too, like. If we decide highly advantageous is, whatever. You do more communities. That's, yeah. I think you're right though, Pete. Like, can't get too into the weeds on it.
No, because I think every group is gonna have their own set of differences, situations where they, can produce more information, can't.
Mhm.
The evaluation criteria. Based upon those 9 or 10 bullets and the overall proposal.
So the evaluation criteria, like you would tally these up
Yep.
and that would sum to the overall. So like, if you hit,
Would you assign it?
Oh, so I see what you're saying. So you total these up and
you go up to 10%, up to 10, up to 15, yeah.
so if it comes into 80 to 100, you're.
Yeah, yeah, so on our, we have that,
Yeah,
yeah. Cause that's how you, yeah, that's how.
It's a little different. I'm cool with that.
yeah, it's more prescribed.
Yeah.
But I think those are good. See, I mean, the trick is, and I think Peter, you're absolutely right. It's kind of like we do this periodically and try to figure it out. And, it's getting the applicants to answer the questions that you want answered. Whether you do it in the application and they have a super duper narrative, or if you flesh it out further at the interview.
I think that the narrative should be vastly different in how it's set.
Okay.
Like, when we look at them, we were getting so frustrated this past year. We look at it and be like, okay, well, these 6 paragraphs, I think those is the same information as this one sentence from this other application. And I'm not sure it's in this application and, oh, it's these
No, I get-
paragraphs on the bottom of this page, like.
It's getting to the point where your point,
I mean,
whereas some of these repeat applications, they're just cutting and pasting.
do we
Very
just
clear.
take this part then and just like make it a questionnaire?
I think either a questionnaire, you can do a Google form where like they have to actually just answer in the space provided, or I liked the link, whatever link board is making you answer each individual question in
Yeah.
a separate thing. Like, I think when we ask them for a narrative, they just talk about their advantages without necessarily
Yeah,
answering what we're asking.
Yeah. So make it more like a form.
I think so.
I think that's good.
I think that would take a lot of our frustration and our trying to compare them. I think that would fix a lot of it.
And it's making them, like I said, like back to the budget, like think about what the event is and
Yeah.
how they want it to actually go.
Does the narrative capture everything you want?
And the other part of it too is, I know in the past, it's what exactly you ask for. Here's your event. But what are you asking for funding for?
Well,
Yeah.
That's what.
Exactly. So it's like,
We can
I want to
drive
pay
it.
for the police detail.
Yeah, we can.
$20,000 for police details, that's what we want, that's what we're looking, or we just want the fireworks, so we want just marketing. It's, some of them in the past have
They
been,
just want money, because then they can decide where they can best put it, right? And if they give you a projected budget that's $100,000, but it's including $20,000 of donations that don't come in, then their budget's really 80, and what are they gonna do?
right, I understand it's a shell game.
It's a total shot.
It's a total shell game, it's just, I guess I was kind of, maybe it's
No, I agree
asking a
with you.
lot, it's just like, what are they asking, like, what are they asking for? Clearly.
I-
And again, there could be some variable to that, but it's, we're asking for marketing money, we're asking for operational money, we're asking for rental of,
I'd like you to ask for, I like the idea of asking for an estimate. Like a third party estimate. So if they wanted detail money, they'd get a letter from the PD or the fire department.
Mhm.
If they wanna rent tents, get the tent rental invoice, cause then it's a real cost.
I like it. Yeah, it shouldn't be that hard.
No,
They're gonna need it eventually anyway.
Exactly.
At least we're hoping to make their budget more real.
Right.
were you ever able to find out that at least 4 hour, 8 hours? Is
you
it,
know what, I gotta I didn't get the full answer, so, I could look it up, but I did get a response. I don't think it's as black and white as going from 4 to 8. It's, I have to clarify it.
okay, I was just trying to see if we were now looking at like doubling the
I
amount
don't
of
think so.
details.
I don't think so. I don't think it's, I'll say jump.
I mean, the Lake George one really has a lot of the good questions.
I agree. I thought that was a really.
Like, no,
Well,
starting with C on page 8, it's like ticketed, yes or no, what's the price? Does this event provide local discounts? Total cost borne by the organizer, total amount the organizer has calculated that needs to be raised,
Here's bang.
that is not currently available or expected to be available.
I'll see the word community in the evaluation criteria, intentional.
I mean, we can add it somewhere. It's kind of like. I mean, at this point, it's like you're having an event, like we want, the higher you're gonna do these, the better, like if contribution to shoulder season is like. Huge.
Impact on
Where would you-
tourism metrics and visitor reach potential. Getting to the same thing.
I think that this is more marketing, visitor reach potential is more marketing, like beyond Cape Cod. Where would you add community?
Would you throw it in cultural?
Either add it or maybe replace it.
Mm.
Um,
How many applicants did we have last year? Remember, Karen? I mean, how many roughly at the start?
11.
11? So
No, I
You
mean,
know,
we can count.
if they had a pre-meeting with us, you know, even if they all came to one meeting and it was explained what we need, and I think a lot of people that want to put on an event, I don't think they understand maybe impact on tourism metrics or the projected financial impact on destination, or how they can even get that answer to explain it to us. So I think a lot of them, hey, I got a great idea. I want to do this event and I need some help to do it. And we have to sort of figure out how we can help them. I don't know that they're going to be able to answer all these questions. I just think there's going to be a lot of cutting, pasting, a lot of wheel spinning, and we're going to have a lot of ones. But it may be if we tell them clearly what we need so that we can make a decision and analyze all 11 or however many come in equally or fairly or
Part of the motivation for doing all this was to cut down.
on FaceTime with them, right?
No, but I think one
We've done that.
starter meeting is
Yeah,
fine.
Maybe some don't need it, some understand it. some
Yeah.
can
And now we
understand
got-
it.
Hey,
we have 11 applicants and now we gotta do 3, and then we gotta do 3, and then we gotta do 3, and then we gotta do 2, and now we're in a month of first meetings.
I'm not opposed to a like a kickoff, like, hey,
I
we've
think-
revised just so everybody knows, we've
Exactly.
revised the grant, especially because it's gonna be new. We can't just put this out to bid to people and have them expect to like fully understand where we're at. I think you're right, like we invite everybody in if they want to, and if they don't, that's fine.
They won't.
And we can also just add, it doesn't have to be an additional thing, we can also say at our next meeting, we're gonna allot the first half an hour to explaining the new thing to anybody who wants to come. We don't
Or
have
they
to
can
be-
watch it.
Or they can watch it, doesn't have to be, or, yeah, right, can we do a new
Yeah, we could-
little video?
You can do a video. There you
Yeah,
go.
get our
We could-
video up there.
We could do a video.
Right.
Starring.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's a good
there you go.
idea.
It's a good idea, yeah.
then it's out there.
These are the changes, here's what.
And I'd love for the chamber to share it with their network.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, we can't just put this out there on the street and expect people to understand it. And also understand like why we've revised it.
I hide.
Instagram?
Idea with high schoolers. I want absolutely nothing to do with any of it.
No.
Okay. You okay with the evaluation criteria?
We can certainly update it. We took it from a different one, so.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
So have you add up all these points, then you're gonna fall into one of these categories, is that how I understand? Yeah.
And we can make like for us, like. A little spreadsheet that, you know,
You'd have to have like a 1, 2, 3 for each
yeah,
of the 8 or however many there are. And then do, it's, yeah. It's not hard.
you don't have to do the math. Like, we can help with the math on the.
Oh, I don't mind doing that. I like that.
So,
That's
if,
a good.
if the answer is yes to any one of these bullet points, they get the full percentage points.
I think that's what we're saying is that we want to do like a low end for middle and a high end for each one.
Of the year, a long time.
Not really.
Well, I mean,
I mean, it's either you get, but like, okay, so like, let's say you're doing
An
the,
event.
impact on
Right.
tourism metrics.
yeah, so those do the pirate festival.
Okay.
Visitor reach potential, I mean, he does do good marketing. I don't know.
Yeah, I would give him a
Yeah.
10, right? Like,
Yeah,
I don't like
Marketing's the
his,
Second one.
okay, Cheryl, visitor reach potential, saying marketing outside of Cape Cod.
I'm not sure why you're getting frustrated with me.
I'm just trying to answer
Lump
these questions.
two together.
Okay, do we want to just make a draft thing, like, or?
Yeah, we could just do like a draft.
I mean, I've
You're saying a
used the
draft
rubric,
tool?
like,
Yeah, it's easy.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
not.
we can do that. I think too, I'm just thinking about this. These are.
And if I think what we need to do is wordsmith these if people are, if this is what's the catch right here.
I
is the
think if we
wording.
like this concept, we can. Kind of,
We were here a long time
Go with
without
it.
one and we were all over the place and it
It's
wasn't
fine.
like, it was no straight. I think this, the whole point of this show, right, was that we need to like have a standard operating procedure.
against this.
No, I'm not saying that they're against it. I'm just saying that like, we're having different questions about the wording and also like how we're gonna calculate it. So we need to pick one of those to tackle first. If we wanna change the wording, then we can change the wording. And then if we wanna make it so it's like. You either get 10% or you get nothing.
can I make a suggestion? Can we just go through that little list? And make sure those are the questions that you wanna,
Yeah,
that you wanna use, because. All I'm thinking about is, so getting to Danielle and the form. And the questions that we were asking before through the narrative and kind
Yeah.
of getting those into the form. You wanna
you want it
try to
matched up.
coax out the answers to these
Yeah.
things at the same time.
You want it to be matched up.
Right. And then I'm gonna ask you guys my questions. So and then we had a separate form at one point. This marketing plan template,
Yeah.
do you still want, I mean,
I think it needs to be way more.
yeah,
It needs to be like the Lake
Flutie.
George one.
Yeah,
I think to the wordsmithing part, if we're, the marketing, the first two could probably be combined for 20%. It's that, but I think the people market differently. Like some people don't care about reaching people off Cape and some people are putting things out to people in Wisconsin. So,
But I think it depends on the time of the year too. I think the shoulder season, we're probably looking at more people that are gonna drive here opposed to maybe fly here.
You also have, like, so if we were talking about Seaside, right? Like, Seaside's not trying to get Wisconsin,
no,
but I think that they're a great organization we should be funding. And I'm not sure with these metrics.
diverse and substantial number of visitors. Doesn't, I mean, that's the thing that was like, visitor reach potential to us can mean whatever. It can mean distance or it can mean diverse and substantial. Like, I felt like last year Seaside Festival did not give a crap about my age group that didn't have kids. Like, I would give them in diverse visitors, not that much, because they literally didn't care unless you had a child. Like, if you wanted to be like a 30-something-year-old single family, not like walking around to have fun and learn about Yarmouth, like, they didn't care. Like, she basically told me that to my face. So I think it's like a matter of like how we define these for us. Like,
But I think we're all gonna have sort of a different.
well,
take.
that's why we need to come out, that's why we need to agree on
Right.
one for everything for the form.
so if you look at the narrative. Grouping.
And marketing is basically
Adjacent
a
to
marketing
the
plan.
The evaluation criteria, so it was event summary, that's not. Maybe that's like desirability from your points of view, event logistics and management, that was capacity, kind of wherewithal. Financial management, again, capacity, and then we had marketing. And the economic impact, but I think those need to line up somehow. So if you go,
Otherwise, we're just gonna get frustrated and we're gonna have to ask them
Yeah.
all these
Like this
questions.
marketing
we're gonna
plan
add
is,
pagination next time, 1, 2. Page 3, 4, and page 5.
this was the marketing plan I think we were really looking at, instead of like, just not only how, but like. Just be more bulleted,
Yeah. And it's.
instead of just saying,
descriptive
yeah,
and
exactly,
educational.
yeah,
I like it.
rather than just being like, are you gonna do Facebook, yes or no?
So on the back of the napkin, I just got the evaluation criteria down to 5 from 8. That would be 20% for each. So what I combined, I haven't combined them. Imagine could be combined, are the first 2. Visitor reach and comprehensive marketing strategy. And then feasibility of operations and the potential for recurring can be combined. Uniqueness, community, and cultural significance can stand alone. Projected financial impact and impact on tourism metrics can be combined. And then contribution to the shoulder season stands alone.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Do you want to define shoulder season?
It's,
Yes,
it should be, it's
I agree.
defined, I think it's defined somewhere else.
I think we just said spring and fall.
Yeah, during shoulder season, spring and fall, or, and or during school vacations aren't.
So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4,
It has dates, but like, I don't,
5.
But the
Shoulder
shoulder
season.
season is really, you can ask.
And now each one can, each
People,
one of us
hospitality
can bring
people
our
that are gonna give
perspective
you-
into a bigger category.
the Lake George one defines shoulder season, but I mean,
Yeah, it does. It does a really good job with it.
I think this.
But they split up their whole,
We get a lot of. February break ones.
they split up their whole, location thing into, here it is right here, off peak and peak.
Yeah.
I mean, they have mountains, they get like, I don't know, but there, sometimes their peak season is like.
Mhm.
Season is to November. Oh, no, I'm sorry, June to September. Well, it is the same verse.
I think we go into October though, honestly. here.
Do too.
Yes, yeah.
Sure.
Are we saying shoulder season is November to?
No, I would say,
Cause I'm not sure we're trying
I
to
mean-
get people to do something in December.
It's almost like school, it almost goes,
yeah, but why not?
School
Why can't somebody
calendar.
do something in November or December, like,
Well, they can,
I'm
and
not
that's gonna be a
against-
school vacation too.
yeah.
I'm not against it. I would love for us to have more things in the middle of what you said.
I think
we don't tend to qualify that as shoulder season.
yeah, I think we
But
keep
that's a no
October.
season then, like.
Yeah, it's
we
like
think shoulder
June-
season is like November, like October, November.
June, July, August, September would be the busy season.
Isn't it Memorial Day to Labor Day? Isn't that our peak?
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
No.
Traffic certainly goes through the end of September.
July and August.
No, but I mean, in
I-
terms
I would
of
say-
defining if their event qualifies as a shoulder season
I think,
event.
I think peak June through
October.
mid-October.
November.
I would argue at June 1st is a shoulder season, if it's before school gets out.
Then July, then we say. Yeah, but then like Memorial Day isn't the shoulder, I don't know, like that's a peak,
That's fair.
I mean, if you look at, I mean, hotel rates are usually jumping mid-June through.
yeah.
That's a good point.
Barely through August. Now, kids go back to school earlier,
Because people go
so
back to school.
right. that's really the.
So do you want to say Memorial Day to Columbus Day? And then everything outside of that is shoulder? That's
I
May.
think maybe we don't say shoulder, I think we just say peak or off peak. And we just change the words, but like, and include school, or we just leave it and say include and school vacation. And major holiday weekends, just say that, or you could just to say June through September. Plus school vacations and major holiday weekends. Cause then you're getting into the whole like, well, there's no major holiday from Labor Day to and Columbus Day, so then that's a holiday. But
Trying to drive off-peak events, correct?
we're trying to drive events that are good for the community and the economy. I mean, we're not necessarily like, I'm not playing favors to off-peak. I mean, yes, it's better that we would like that, but like,
There was a good peak season event.
Well, we've always been focused
Right.
off,
I
it's
thought
on
that was
shoulder
actually-
season.
it is, but it's,
In the
but
definition.
we're not gonna say no to events that happen, like, okay, the Mermaid Day, what was that? June 29th. What is that? I mean, that's what like,
That peak.
that's, yeah, so
I
that's what I'm
kind of
saying.
feel like peak is kind of like the
June-
school, I hate
School
to say
summer.
it, it's the school summer.
Seniors are out like the beginning of June, like these kids are
Yeah.
running amok, like June
Right.
5th through,
And they have no money.
yeah, so like,
But maybe then it's June, July, August.
Yeah, I kind
yeah,
of,
I think that's fine.
I kind of think it's when you see the no vacancy signs. When are the no vacant?
It's like you know it when
But
you
right-
see it.
Yeah, but it depends, yeah, but like
but,
then
right,
there are
so-
no vacancy for the high school graduations and the 4Cs graduation and all
Yes.
that, like.
Right, I mean, but there's gonna be the anomalies for like the school like to say that it's peak for the February school vacation and April school vacation, I think it's.
No, we're not. We're saying that's
I think it's just kind of like
plus school vacation. like
when
we
you
have
see
in
no
this one.
vacancy, like definitely July and August.
I think then
just-
June, July, August. peak.
Yeah,
And then the rest would be up September to May.
off peak is September to May.
Yes.
It only matters if we're going to be looking at it
Inundated,
differently,
but-
right?
Well,
Like,
if
if we
you-
care more about a shoulder season event, then
I just care
we're,
about
if
the
you
events.
were just saying,
But you do have
We're
that
giving it
now as a
20%.
20%
So then we change the numbers.
criteria. No, I'm just, it's
That's
up
what-
to you guys what you want to prioritize.
Or it's just, we don't necessarily
But
need
it's
more
in there.
people here in July and August because we're already saturated. So it's when we're not saturated is when we want more people here.
Right.
I think our charge says we should be focused on.
I think it's in the definition of what we're supposed to.
It's not in the legalese of it all. It's certainly
Okay.
not. It's in our stuff of what we were saying.
Okay.
Then just pick, sounds like we all agree that June, July and August.
Yeah.
Is peak.
Great.
And then off peak, shoulder, whatever you want to call it. But I think the importance of school vacations is huge because that's when they do their whole like winter carnival, like all that stuff. Like people come here in like April vacation and
Right.
February vacation.
But that's off peak and we would fund that. We would give that a
But
higher
yeah, so
criteria.
we just keep it highlighted as as it is now. It says in here like, and school vacation weeks in our application. I think, I'm just saying, just keep that language too.
Yes, we'll just off peak is.
Yeah. September through,
Labor Day to Memorial Day, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Labor Day to
yeah,
Memorial Day
September,
or
yeah,
something.
whatever it is.
Yep. Then it.
Yeah, it needs, if we're gonna do it as 20%, we just.
We don't
need
have to
tell
do it as
them what
20%. This is literally Joe and I, this is why we're
Just
here
kinda
now,
throw-
because
right,
we
we-
took this for 3 months. We found what we could, we copied and pasted it, and now we're here to dish this all out.
Right. Throw spaghetti at the
So
board.
that's what we're
some-
saying,
some
is like,
sticks.
we're not saying this is hard and fast, has to be this stuff. Like, if you guys don't think it should be 20, then like, that's why we're here now to talk about
Yeah, I
it.
think we rolled it. It's fine. And we figured out we're gonna all be deciding on these events if something needs another 5 or 10%.
And if we're combining stuff, I mean, then aren't they all kind of at 20?
They are.
So then what does it matter if shoulder season is at
Oh, you
22?
Get them all 20?
No, if we combine them like Joe suggested, which I think is a good idea, then then that's 5 at 20.
Right.
I
So
think that's easy.
I like it.
Kind of matter.
I think it's working.
20%.
You can see that.
I can see, but I can't see the little urgent on it. Okay.
What do you know? Let's look for the reds of the holidays.
All right, so we said. This year it was
Do you wanna-
May
I'm just gonna,
27th to
Sorry.
September 2nd.
If you want me to.
I'll just start.
Yeah, I'd
doing it
say
so I
that's
can-
peak.
I can
If
visualize
we
it
use the
better.
holidays, they're always gonna flow.
Right.
So instead of the June 1st to September.
I think it
30th.
makes sense.
And it doesn't mean
The
that's,
holidays, it's
It's kind of understood too by more people that it's.
right, I think if somebody comes the first week of June or the second week of June,
Right.
and it's still a good thing, maybe it's
Still a good
may-
thing.
you know, it scores 15 instead of 20, but it's
Maybe
still a good
maybe
idea.
18, Joe.
Holiday-
Maybe
Maybe
18.
18, all right.
The holidays part of the zeitgeist around here.
But right, I mean, you just gotta kind of have some sort of guideline,
So what did you just settle on?
Memorial Day to Labor Day.
Okay.
or Labor Day to Memorial Day.
20% each.
Right. Joe, don't start.
I'm
I
gonna
couldn't
put
resist.
this on here,
Okay.
Karen, so we can see it.
All right,
What's next?
well, we threw out that funding based on evaluation, like a minimum and a maximum, and then the percentage. That was just discussion. And sometimes we've gotten like, I don't know, the past, I think we get like a volleyball thing, they wanted like $500. Do we want to look at little type of things like that? Do we want to have like a minimum of like $1,000? Look at it, maybe we don't. This was just, that was looking through all these other ones. They had like a minimum, some of them had a maximum. 50,000 might be a lot for the maximum, but the percentage part of it, I think is, when whoever walks in here looking for money needs to be not looking for all of the money from us.
I wasn't super clear on what was it, I don't, what's it to the percentage of the
Total
total,
budget.
their total budget?
Event budget,
But we're relying on them to tell us what their total event budget is.
right? And I guess that does get tricky when we go back to.
If they don't
And
calculate
then
it
in
right,
people
that's
like
in retrospect, their budget wasn't what they said it was, and we gave them half. Right? So is that
it's still
written,
reimbursed though, so
is that written in a way where we're gonna get,
I mean, that's.
Good
we're
point.
gonna control?
Whatever, do we even
Not-
need that percentage?
not
We don't
getting
need the
played.
percentage, right?
I think the idea where, at least I was going, is that we don't want to come in here and fund something 100% that may sink or swim, and the people don't have any teeth in the game or any.
Even if it's brandy new?
Even if it's brandy new, I feel that people need to have some sort of personal buy-in, because if
agree.
we just write them a free check, then it doesn't give,
I agree.
the producer, they don't produce, and there's no skin off of their back, and I feel that they need to invest. They need to invest in this. We shouldn't be, maybe funding things more than maybe even 50%.
75.
But I don't know. I'm throwing out what the percentage is for discussion, but I believe that everybody that walks in here should have some sort of skin in their game.
I
And
agree.
we're not totally funding it, but that's,
Well, how do we take the arbitrariness out of this statement is my question. Whichever is less.
Yeah, because you're never gonna see the Cape League baseball budget. Full budget.
right. And again, that gets back to that tricky thing where it's not like an event where it's a weekend or 2 weekends. And
Season.
like so I think it was the Cape League and the Cultural Center, the two things that are kind of,
Yeah.
the operation is much more than the event.
I mean, I could take a look back and see if we have. Or we could do it just for the events that you funded this year or last year. Or both, and look at what was the request, what was the award, what was the total budget, and that might help. Kind of inform that answer and how you want to deal with it.
I'm just saying that whoever's gonna do something needs to have some sort of skin in the game. It's just my thing. And right, it's how do you articulate that and how do you measure it?
You said worked with the parade?
It did, that's what I was just looking at. We gave 50,000. At least that's what. I don't know what we actually gave, but that's what it says.
But the parade does charge for floats and politicians. There is a funding mechanism to the parade, and maybe that's just donate, it could be donations or
sponsors.
sponsorships.
But their budget was only 80,000 or something, right? The budget wasn't, I'm trying to
Yeah.
remember.
It was.
Yeah.
So I mean, they wouldn't have,
But they also weren't doing what they.
But that was something that had frustrated us. So I think that that's
Yeah.
actually a good point.
Yeah.
In this direction, that we wanted a lower percent that we were funding.
Right, and then,
Well-
maybe we look at the community, I'm sorry, the community event, maybe we look at a little bit more, we'd fund a little bit more than percentage for that. Sorry,
I feel like this statement should address the frustration. So how do we say this that address the frustration?
I-
Felt.
Nice. You gonna say a statement?
No, I don't have an answer.
Well, how about this? Just let me. I think funding based on evaluation. Maybe we should put another bullet, so instead of 5, you have 6. And something to the effect that, funding is based upon, I'm just throwing this out,
But shouldn't that bullet go here? The one you want to add?
no, I'm wrestling with,
I'm past the evaluation. I'm trying to figure out how we get them to.
Steve, are you getting at
perform.
financial capacity?
Yeah.
So I think that you need to fold it into that
Feasibility
feasibility.
and
of
operations.
operation.
I was
Yeah,
just
yeah,
thinking too.
And so in the, back
event
to the
potential.
narrative pages, the way we had it, you had event logistics, but also financial management. How's it managed? How are funding decisions made? How are budget shortfalls gonna be handled? And then in the budget itself, it asks for the revenues and
yeah,
donations and
Yeah.
sponsorships, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about, if we're talking about not giving this money till after the fact, isn't that what we were talking about, giving this money after?
It's all
Finish their
reimbursed.
final report?
It's
It's all
well-
reimbursed, right?
always reimbursed.
Right. Okay,
The
so,
the only time, and I wanted, is, the way the existing contract, and you have a copy in the packet, the contract that we've been using, we do submit 25%, and if it would need to be one of the expenses, like the condition that you put on the funding. But you can spend up to 25% of the grant on marketing ahead of time before the event happens, because the marketing is going on ahead of time. And what we would normally do is if you have the St. Patrick's Day Parade and they were advertising and they had a contract for $10,000, and that was less than 25% of the whole budget, we'd be okay.
okay, so the cost of the event will be a hard number eventually before the reimbursement happens, based on their final reporting and the receipts that they submit to be reimbursed for. So we'll have a final budget for the event.
We'll have a final cost of what it cost them to put on the event.
Right, right.
But that doesn't we don't check that.
No, but that's why we're asking them to define in their budget what they think it's gonna cost.
Right.
Right, that's how we're.
So the 25% is of the budget that is awarded to the. So you say you're this St. Patrick's Day Parade again, and you have $100,000 budget, and we give you $40,000 for X, Y, and Z. Of that 10%, of that $10,000, 25% of your grant award can be used in advance. That's all that we're checking.
Okay. So how does this strike anyone? I'm not sure that I have the law. That's right. Instead of maximum $50,000 or 75% of total budget, whatever is less, what about if it said not to exceed 75% of total budget or $50,000, whichever is less?
That's fine.
Because then we'll be able to do the math at the end, right?
You're gonna do
Based on hard
that
receipts.
for your award. No, it's gonna be
No
your
one audits it
award.
at the end, no one looks at it.
You're making this funding decision based on the application.
Right.
I know, but they're not getting the money until after they submit for the reimbursement.
But they're
which is
only allowed-
Receipts.
The,
But they can't get
No.
more than we approve them for.
no, they can't. But I'm saying your funding based on evaluation is maximum. You need to know what you're gonna give them, what you're going to be obligated to give
Mhm.
them.
And
in
if they do the math
advance.
wrong on their
You're
end,
not
that's
gonna
on
figure
them.
that out at the end.
We can't control the success of their event.
Right.
And I don't think we
Right.
want to. I think we want,
Right.
here's your money. We do our evaluation. You got 80%. We like it. Here's your 20 grand.
And if you don't
See
like
you
it
next year.
next year, you build in a
Right.
factor.
Right, exactly.
How did last
You
year
realize,
go?
oh, we really undersold ourselves. We could have gotten
Right.
more money had we said, what things
Yeah.
realistically, we're gonna, done our research and prepared better,
Yeah.
then.
We're gonna win some, we're gonna lose some.
And so are they.
Or maybe we just lower the total. Maybe we get rid of the, I don't know, not the percentage or,
I've got it under the.
what's the most we've ever awarded?
50.
Well,
That's- I was
St.
trying-
Patrick's got 50, right? But that was the selectmen awarded the 50. What have what's the committee?
Podstock got 40. I think it's under feasibility.
And I think that's
Examine the
a-
practicality for plan and budget. Plan and budget.
Maybe for an as
And
demonstrated
maybe.
I mean,
Yeah.
previously.
we have 140 budgeted normally without having any extra money. So it's like 50, we could only give two
Trying to-
and 2/3 awards if we were to give.
Right.
Give that. So I mean. Yeah, maybe we even look at lowering, we just put numbers on here just for discussion point. I mean, maybe we make it 40, maybe we make it less, but I think Codstock, the 40, I think that's the highest we've
Yeah. that
given
was-
ever at once. I
that
think
was
the
a-
committee, again, the selectmen
They did what they.
gave them more money for St. Patrick's this year, but in the past years, I don't even know, I think Codstock, I think before that, I don't even know if we've given more than $30,000
Hold on, I can tell you.
We got those numbers.
to a specific event.
So I think the max would be 75% too much.
Yeah, me too.
That's what I'm,
Way too much.
30, 50%, 30,000,
yeah,
50.
so what's our highest historical?
So your highest, here's, and
That's
that'll
the
all get
request.
adjusted. It's all gonna get adjusted. If you put
Yeah, those are their full requests.
a 50% in there, the
think 30.
requests may go up. You know,
Well,
that,
Well,
it's
yeah.
always
Yeah,
the
I think
parade.
Just
the-
leave a flat number and then
The
forget the
cultural
percentage.
centers ask for money. Who's this?
But what's our biggest awards, I guess, is,
I think
30.
Cod.
The
I
biggest
think the
award, yeah, Codstock, and then the other
is
one
it.
was 30 in
And-
2017 for the parade.
and prior to that, it was 30.
Yeah.
Looks like
So-
it. Oh, there's a 35 to Seaside
Awarded though, or
in
two?
21.
Yeah,
What if we did it as a
there
function
were
of
very
the
few
available
requests.
And that was
funds?
there
100% of
that
the
year,
requests, yeah.
remember?
Right, yeah.
Look, everybody
I like
got
that,
it.
'cause
Yeah.
50,000's a
If
third of our
this-
budget.
if this-
Yeah, it's the 50,000 is
What
around
if we did it
70.
as a, what if
The
we did it as
Codstock's
a
not getting the
percentage of
full award
available,
this year.
of funding available? No one event could get more
I
than
think-
X percentage of what we have available.
I like it.
Do we need to have this number
Yeah,
defined?
we
I don't know.
have, we've done it.
Some kind of upper limit on expectations for people that are applying, otherwise. You know,
Well,
they
that's
can,
kind of why we put in the 140,000.
Can't we just have it as a,
I don't,
but that way we'll sort of preclude ourselves from getting applications. That, let's say we set it at 50% of our budget, right? So we know we're not gonna get any applications asking for 75,000. Our budget is 140.
Okay, but well, 30% of 190 is 57,000, so. Like, if you say that, then like, that's still a lot for.
That's our max. We don't
It's
have
your-
to.
No, it's
award.
not, no, I know that, I'm just saying, like, you're still getting at the fact of like,
I think there's more, there's
it's more.
We-
math than we need to involve. Can't, let's just pick a maximum number.
why do we even have to do that?
Yeah.
We say $140,000 or 150, whatever we
Just
have.
leave it out.
Leave it out.
Just-
Yeah,
They know we
Then
don't
you
have
have
$1
to
million
remember.
we're giving out, like.
Yeah, we handled it pretty well, I thought.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm also not for fully funding all of these events.
Can I say?
I'm not for like fully giving everybody whatever they all like.
Well,
we
I
did that
think we
last year.
handled it pretty good last year. People came in, save for Comstock. We said, look at, we only have 140,000 here. You're asking for 50,000.
No,
We
but
can
I'm
do-
saying I don't wanna get like somebody, like a lot of these people, like last year, didn't people come in and we gave them their full request? Yeah, we did.
Yes, we did.
Well, some of them-
I don't wanna give somebody 100% of their budget request, like, I think that's what we were getting at here too.
Or
We
I think
don't-
it's different giving them what they request versus 100% of their budget.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't
I
think
still
that
don't
was their
feel like,
budget.
I don't know, I think it's just.
they may have a really
Yeah,
good
they-
project.
they
They
don't-
may, they may get 95%. I mean,
Yeah.
and if we're gonna be the
Yeah, I don't want to,
raid group and committee, we can be good enough to say, yeah, we like it.
yeah.
We've seen others not do as well, like,
So
you know.
are we saying we want a number or not?
I don't
Then
think we
I
need a
don't know if
number.
we need a minimum either,
No.
then we don't need a minimum, cause
No.
then, okay, so then we're taking it out, that's what we've decided, that's
Right,
what,
yeah.
that's what everybody's saying. Yeah, we don't need it then, cause we can't just leave a minimum of 1,000, cause then we're held to that.
I mean, we have a budget, so we know that what the top,
140,000, say right up, we have $140,000.
we could have 3 or 4 great, or
Yeah, it's up to
6 or 7 ones that we're uncertain of.
Yeah.
Okay, what else we got?
That's kind of it, now it's
That's it?
really the forms that need to be updated. Better to be some more detailed. Right,
We can do that.
that's kind of.
Well, so is the general consensus either that the budget form is too detailed or not detailed enough? And we had 3 years of information, which, you know, I can tell you the concept when we did this was that you do your final report, do your budget, and that could slide in to your new budget request, but it doesn't seem to work that way.
And I know from applying, at least for the time of year, like for Seaside, it's just the timing,
The timing is.
the timing just doesn't,
Side festival.
it doesn't,
Yeah.
you know, work. And maybe
Right.
for other events too, it just try to get that final. Because it's not, you know, Tuesday after the thing event is not when you're closing your books out.
But yeah,
So it's a little tough. And then the categories, you know, a lot of times people were just adding, you know, you just add in the categories because you didn't quite know. You know, I think to me, it's just more like, you know, what are you spending, you know, on marketing? You know, and then we did have the more detailed plan and that marketing plan, but again, different groups are gonna be doing different kinds of marketing. I mean, and I'm no marketing guru at all. So I don't know what the best thing is for that. I think trying to keep it simple, because the more there's just so much room for finagling and putting stuff in
Right.
different categories. It's,
The other reason we did it like this was to try to make the review of the different applications really be kind of apples and apples. But it doesn't seem to pan out like that.
No, because some people like focus on it, do this strictly for marketing, and others are putting on an actual event.
Right.
I'm just making me nervous now looking at all this, is that they're not really, I mean, all of this is about event. Like, their marketing plan is not a recurring event. It's not a successful thing that, like, that's, we're gonna look at them so differently than other people, which is why. I
It's
care
always
about
been
them,
a
though.
square peg.
Yeah, but which is what other places do, like Provincetown, they do events and marketing. They do two separate ones, which is, I think maybe in the future where we might be headed based on the fact that it's,
And you're gonna have a marketing RFP coming in.
right.
So just, that's food for thought. I was thinking.
right, and that, and that may be that, back to that special events portion of that marketing contract was not putting on special events in the marketing contract, is marketing special events, not actually doing that.
Yeah.
I think that's where I think it's kind of gotten away from,
Yeah.
I don't know how, but I mean, and we've just done it. It's just the way it's happened, but I think that's, we get back. So as we have that pool of money that, and whoever gets that RFP should be that marketing wizard for the town. And market all the special events and that,
Mhm.
and under an umbrella. So that way it's all packaged with hopefully a nice little bow. Maybe I'm thinking in Technicolor, but that's, it's like, it's that group. I mean, economy of scale is, when you get, all right, we have 8 things that we fund. Let's
Yeah.
market those things all together,
Right,
but you have that one
Yeah.
group, you have that one group that we
Yeah.
award the marketing contract to that's gonna market them all.
All of our people are gonna rebel against that for sure, though. Like, because now you're telling the YD Red Sox that someone else.
Chamber of Commerce is gonna.
No, they can submit whatever they want. We just
Right.
want the chamber to do a better job at putting it out there. I think that's what we're getting at, is that like everything's. There should be, like, I don't know, personally, I think like if you get one of these grants, then you should get it, there should be a combined baseline thing that the chamber gives you a discount on their marketing, and they, when they're doing their marketing out to like come visit Yarmouth, they're like highlighting also all these events. Right now, our people are having to run out and do it on their own because the chamber's not marketing the events. That's what's happening now. So they're having to pay more for marketing rather than having the chamber do its job.
Kind of a bit of a push-pull. Sometimes people don't want.
Yeah, and you don't have to, but like,
Don't
wouldn't
want someone else
wouldn't it be
to do it.
nice?
Lake George one's really good.
Yeah, keep
Right.
it.
The application.
Really good.
I'd keep the Lake George.
Right, it does, because then it's a
Pretty-
question. Some
Yeah.
of them are
Yeah.
yes, no, or an
Yeah.
actual hard number. So
Right.
it's
Yep.
like a little easier to evaluate than the
Good job.
spaghetti that people are throwing
Yeah.
on a page.
Yep.
Are you looking at the Lake George
Yeah.
one? and-
Yeah, these questions are great.
It's really good.
What do you like? You like
Fiscal
everything?
Stability of the event.
So we're just saying the application looks good.
We can just,
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But I mean, some of it we already have is like attendees projected, what tracks, how do you track it?
Yeah, they don't have the little bubbles though. They got the nice little bubble. circulating in there.
SAT,
High impact, medium impact, low impact. And that's.
I will say it's not less complicated.
It's not less complicated. That's what I was thinking as I was reading it. I was like. Reminds me. Application.
Might filter a little more.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Although. There's a lot of historic stuff that comes through this committee. But. I don't know that that's gonna change dramatically. With different applications.
They won't understand all these questions.
I mean, I think. From a 30,000 foot view, the application should let good event shine. I think it kind of does. Does want some great detail.
The only thing we really have to double check in all of our questions is which question goes to which of these categories.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Right.
Mhm.
evaluate it on this with a number.
Yep.
We have to be like, okay, when they answer these 4 questions, that's our answer to this first part.
We can
Not all
also make those the
subjective.
headings of the questionnaire.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's a good idea.
What was that?
Make the.
Application?
Evaluation criteria of having some application,
That's, works well.
so we know what we're looking at.
Let me know what we're grading.
But like, yeah, I don't know, it's just, that's the one, their posting requirement that I really like, and I think this is where I'm getting at chambers that like. The Visitor Association, which is their chamber, we are encouraging all of our recipients to become more active in the SPCA community, will require all recipients to attend and participate at least 2 of our events. Photos and videos for promotional processes, like, getting that stuff to the chamber, like, so then the chamber could be like, look at these events that happen here, like, and share it on their stuff, and also just like, yeah, cross promoting of events.
So we make that part of the RFP.
Mhm.
So what
Right, I
do
don't think it should be an and or,
Mm-mm.
we, right,
or an if and or statement.
what do we wanna do? If you wanna put the, like George, application forms, you go through,
Well,
I
I think the questions need to be assigned to the bucket, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Clear.
Yeah.
I'm not even clear on the buckets right this
Courtney
second.
and Joe, you guys wanna, and we can maybe meet in here.
Yeah.
And we can doctor it up.
Yeah.
And we'll have to do that. Next week sometime.
Yeah, when do we want to get this out? So it's the end of July now. So when do we? What if
Well,
I
I think-
estimate to put this out to the world?
Well, that was kind of one of my questions, because the old.
CED finalized the vote on
Last
change.
year, we did do it early, and we had the legal ad ran at the very end of July, and then the application was due kind of early, mid-September.
September sixth.
But I don't see that happening, because we don't have an application, so we can't advertise yet.
Right, and a lot of that was
Um,
pushed for St. Patrick's, because they,
right.
I mean, only really not to pick on them, only because they're the first event of the kind of the
But I
new year.
I mean, Courtney you guys had a schedule
Yeah, someone
here
had, yeah. Okay.
that I think we could aim for.
All right,
Yeah.
With so last week of July workshop, we're doing that right now.
Yep.
August 13, finalize and vote on changes. September 4, launch solicitation. So I just think you have to meet, if we can finalize it on the 13th, great. If not, maybe you add an extra meeting or.
Yep.
You know,
and then I guess, so the money that the selectmen got, the 50,000, they got a town meeting for that. That's 100% St. Patrick's Day.
I don't know that,
But I guess,
That's what it sounded like at the annual,
That's what we
Meeting.
put on.
Town meeting.
right?
the town meeting.
It wasn't explicitly, they didn't explicitly say that, but
Right.
we know.
Well,
that.
okay, but we shouldn't be,
People that didn't vote.
we
for
shouldn't be
it.
guiding anybody. The question is, we shouldn't be guiding anybody else that would be applying for this towards that, or whatever that
Oh,
is, all what I'm saying, because it's,
That's
is-
out of,
I think you're,
bucket.
you're reworking this, it's your schedule. And I think that ideally, like, the strategy's been to make it the funds available for the calendar year, January to December.
I like what you have here for a schedule. If we can finalize things by the 13th, if not, we may need another meeting. But let's use this as a
Oh,
sort of a blueprint, right?
So
You did a
if-
good job on that. I think it's-
You won't be looking at 13.
I know, horrible, but it's an insurance conference. I doubt it's gonna be, happening, trust me.
Do you want to? Oh, shoot, so, but we do have other items.
I can probably
here
do it remote.
For the 13th.
I can be remote.
We had a big meeting, so we may need another meeting.
You may need another meeting.
So we could
Do you
do,
want to pencil in the 20th?
Yeah, I can definitely be remote. for change.
Okay, that would be a good meeting.
20th of what? Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, my mother-in-law's in town, anything to get me away.
This may go on, you.
Gee.
So we're recording.
I know that's on the,
Does our 140 include the 50 the selectmen are gonna
No,
take?
because they made that their own line item in their.
That
own line
was,
With the 40 that we're getting back from Codstock.
unless we're told otherwise, Karen comes
Building.
at one of our meetings, says, by the way, we're, this has the
I mean-
140. The 50 is over here and a
Yeah.
separate.
So they're.
They're welcome to
find
apply, but I,
50 from somewhere else to fund their line item, the selectmen.
the select board had
They-
the town meeting article to essentially increase their budget to include $50,000 for events.
We
Okay.
took money
They
out of the
haven't-
general fund and put it into their
Yeah, they haven't
selectment
said
budget.
explicitly what it's for. They
That's-
haven't.
We were there, so that's what we heard.
I mean, personally, I would love to have the discussion with them that says that they use that 50,000 to, they can rob Peter to pay Paul for details and
Police and-
stuff
police and
until they
fire.
come up with a better policy.
I think that's what they're gonna come back and say.
But does that mean that,
But they haven't said anything yet. I mean, they're holding out for the parade to
I think we gotta get an answer.
come back.
Really, we gotta get an answer.
Because-
Sooner than later.
can people get money from both pies, both pieces of pie? Is
So
I
what's
guess-
your question
Sure.
that you'd like me to ask?
So here's my questions. Is that money just for police and fire? A. The 50,000, it's in the Board of Selectmen budget right now.
Dude,
Is it for specifically for the St. Patrick's Day Committee? Parade Committee?
Mhm.
Or can our applicants that go after this 140 go after that money as well? So is instead of 140, is it 190? Yeah, good.
can the parade committee come back to this group too?
Okay.
Yeah.
If we get the answer on the first one.
They might get 50 there and come to us for.
Right, that's what,
And I think we take that.
Why,
into
why would we
consideration.
want to invite another
Right, like,
controversy with the?
I don't either, but I just think we
Well, we
need
can't,
answers.
I mean, it is a public bid process.
Because we have to have the
Yeah, we
answers to
can't
it.
stop them from applying, but we don't have to
You're not
award them
uninvited.
anything.
How do we know what
It's a
budget
public-
we're dealing with? 100, is
Yeah,
it
but we weren't
150, 140 or
explicitly
190?
We were told
that was
last
the
year.
continued
Why,
to
why are
give
we,
them money last year.
Karen's
was that
gonna
they
ask a
would
question,
never
that's
come and
all.
ask us again.
right.
I mean,
That was
But that's-
explicitly said. We
right,
have
but
that
the
as a
town meeting warrant
Right.
vote does not say $50,000 for the St. Patrick's Day Parade, and that's where it becomes tricky. The
Right.
town meeting did not vote to fund the St. Patrick's Day Parade, They didn't even know it was for that until Bob said, it's not coming back unless you fund this. So it's a public bid process. We can't say you can't apply. But
Well,
we don't have to give them the
I
money
don't know
though.
what process it's gonna be.
We don't have to give it to them. Where's the, I'm trying to find the freaking article?
we need to know if it's 150, 140 or 190. That's,
Want me to hand out the event information from the Chamber of Commerce?
sure, yeah. We should- we need to
I'll
talk.
send it around. This is the event report and the scope. Going in different directions. I just wanted you to have the scope so you could see what we asked for and then the report that came back. But maybe read this before the 13th.
Yeah.
And see if that ways, I don't know if it helps to inform our event process. I don't mean to hijack. Do you want to talk about the next meeting and the two items? I did if you look at the screen, I broke up Route 28 into 6 pieces. Peter was first in with a special request. So I put his name next to Packet Landing to 1175, that's the MacArthur School. I just went through on Google Earth and tried to divvy it up. I think 5.2 divided by 6 was like 0.88. So that's roughly what the stretches are. But if you want to posy other stretches, this goes from the MacArthur School to Harborside Suites. Harborside Suites to the Parker River Bridge, Parker River Bridge to the intersection at Higgins Brawl.
I'll take that one.
You want that one?
You go see mom.
Mom,
She lives up.
does she live over
Oh,
there?
I can take numbers. Well, I don't care, whatever. you
And
guys
then
want.
Higgins Brawl Road to the Bayside and then the Bayside to Shields.
This was just identifying vacant properties. What
This
was-
was to follow up on the conversation about the vacant storefronts, but also any properties that might be good for housing, going along the lines of the conversation that we had with Mary Wagon and the work that the Affordable Housing Trust is doing. So kind of, is there anything that might be a good mixed use. And what I'll do is I'll put together the assessor maps that go along with these parcels, so you can get a feel for what the parcels all look like. And then this was the data collection points. So I'll add to this, kind of finesse it up and clean up the addressing for you.
I'll do the second one.
Those are the other big one.
Okay.
Good month.
I'll take 3.
Okay.
9, 3, 4. I live on Higgins.
You do?
So it looks like you got four.
Joe,
Your
you got
packet's ready.
bananas.
Whatever works for me. So what am I, tell me what to do.
You get to that time too, you get some espresso and then you'll start.
Totally.
Bed for the back.
Yeah.
Then when you're done, finally lift the shed, you can go to MRI.
The other thing that I wanted to hand out, I'll go to skinny stuff on one side. So, and I'll forward out, I think I may have already
Yeah, I
forwarded
got
the
the-
email to you. So the planning board with their LCP efforts,
yeah.
we have the consultant, we've already done a bunch of meetings with different groups, but they want to come in and meet with CEDC. There's a list of questions that we'll go through at the interview, and we have those there, and in the email that I sent out, there is also a Word document version, so if you want to type in your answers, that would be super.
We can't do all this on one.
2 items for the 13th that you're
So-
passing us.
It's a lot.
Let,
The LCP is kind of by, they're lined up to come that day, I think, and do other interviews, I
okay,
think. I could ask Kathy if you want to move that, or you could move, I mean, you can move any of these. If you want to bump the vacant storefront to another meeting, that's okay.
Yeah. push that out.
Okay, so we'll do,
Yeah, because it's gonna take us a little.
yep, so,
Figure that.
okay, and then,
So we can do the LFP meeting. And
and then the last thing that I tell everybody is, well, and that gets to if we have to schedule an extra
I'm sorry,
meeting.
can you just clarify for me, these 2 things are happening on the 13th now?
right there, LCP discussion.
The-
Finalize.
The special events are happening. Steve has mentioned tonight that he'd like to interview or have these people attend the Sri Lanka meeting. Is that right, Steve?
Yes,
But that would be for an upcoming, so I would do this. This is it.
Oh, yeah.
From Sri Lanka,
yeah.
like that. Does that answer your question, Joe?
Mhm.
Yep.
And then on August 21, that's a Wednesday. The planning board has invited in the Cape Cod Commission to go over the SEDS reports. And they would like you to come. You're free and available.
Yes.
The planning board did ask at the last meeting,
What time's that? Do you know?
Meet 5, Peter?
5:30, planning board,
5:30?
yeah. They did ask what I thought of the CDC taking on questions like this or addressing these sort of things. And I said, it's pretty much exactly what the group would like to be
Mhm.
doing,
This is big
you
picture.
know,
This
Yeah.
is,
so, yeah.
Maybe after we get this all out, we can have that historical society come in, like they asked us to at the last select board meeting.
Mhm. Yep, I think that's a great idea.
Is the planning board
Um,
meeting in here?
Downstairs.
I am probably gonna work up a CPA application.
I just would love
It
to know.
would be
what-
nice to
Yeah,
marry things.
yeah,
How long's that gonna run? Pete?
Yeah.
Depends on what's on there, but
and maybe we like specifically something they are maybe too, just like,
I don't know.
I know, I think Mary said she's like talking to them about it, but I want them to like really feel like they're encouraged to.
Mhm.
get into.
Karen, did reappointments go on the consent agenda?
No, I didn't get that done, but I may be able to get it done for next
Technically, I
week.
can't come. on August.
Sorry,
I'm not reappointed, I can't come in August, can I?
you can come. You can come.
Appreciate it.
You're a committee member until otherwise.
Well, otherwise notified, right? Excellent.
Yeah.
Ready for late.
Here,
Oh, Steve, you make it sound like a sentence.
You can't.
Are we, good to go? Nice with you.
This is another.
Courtney and Joe, do you want to get time?
Yeah, we can hang,
After-
yeah, yeah.
After this?
We'll pick a time. Yeah.
We good to go? You
So
can check
sorry,
out, but you
no,
can never leave.
Is there
Sure.
a,
Oh,
you-
move to
you
adjourn.
still need-
Motion to adjourn.
Second? Second?
Let's go for
All in
second.
favor? I said
Okay.
second.
Okay.
Thank you all. Enjoy this summer.
These are extras.
Yep. Thank you, Karen.
Joe, your calendar's is colorful.
City Hills.
Oh, yeah, if I didn't color code it, I'd be lost. If I didn't have Google Calendar, I'd be lost.
What's your name?
Good, how's your wife doing?
Manipulation is, I think she's up like maybe 100,
I bet you that's.
but
strange.
105.
I mean.
Thanks, Karen.
She wasn't.
Have a good
there
night. Thank you.
early,
Have a good
So
night.
it's happening.
I just got mine to 107, so
Oh,
four,
right, you're taking a
four
class. Oh my God, that's so.
Oh, I
this
love it.
way and then 107 that way, and it's been, I've been.
So do you have to
and
prepare?
it-
Or-
Yeah.
Mine just blew up
Yeah.
afterwards and it was. just-
I love it.
Yeah, so
I
that'd be
mean,
like
like St.
Thanksgiving.
George
Yeah.
pictures.
But,
Very
So
good.
she's doing better, so
Yeah,
And
slowly.
I'll find mine.
it's no fun, it's not fun
No,
doing
it's
it.
terrible.
It's so
Because
funny.
it's not that big. We
Limit
stayed
all
on
the
the
time.
island.
Oh, wow.
That's where their
But
place is.
She's up in,
He's
yeah,
a,
it's, I'm just happy I'm up and moving around and it's,
So
I wish it bent more than it does, but it doesn't hurt.
That was like, that's some of my.
Like, the pain's all, the
It
pain's,
was
it
really cute.
gets stiff,
Can't believe
Yeah.
you went there.
but the pain,
Um,
knock on wood, the pain's all
Bend it
gone.
enough to.
Yeah, so. I
It
can-
didn't show up.
so
on
this
mine.
is
No one else.
Street is I can go
wants
this
to.
way
I don't
Yeah,
care.
that's not bad.
and then
Fine.
this way.
All right, not bad.
But yeah, I mean, the longest time, even before the manipulation, I wasn't even nine, and like, it was just.
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was-
yeah. Yeah, she said they had a crack,
Steve called me yesterday.
and then now her
We thought we were making.
follow-up last
I
week,
wouldn't
she said,
do
you
that.
okay? The scar tissue's gone, they've
I'll
run
put
through
that-
it. Now your hamstrings
I
are
don't think
tight.
This is just
That's
the
a
word.
good time.
Right, because everything.
I mean, it's-
you weren't
Everything's sitting
moving around
around,
enough.
right, so now you gotta deal with that.
But,
Yeah, because I didn't hear it hurt like the worst for
I
longest
think you're
time.
probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
But the
I-
more you get up and.
I'm gonna do it
that's
on
the
one.
thing, but like, yeah, so it's
Sure,
like,
sure.
there's no pain, it gets stiff, like,
Yeah,
especially sitting.
Yeah,
like,
it's really.
This is a
Fire
first.
station,
Yeah.
sitting for a while,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
stiff.
that, she hates that, because she, right, because it hangs off short, so.
Right, but, yeah, all right.
Thanks, John.
No, okay, so
Okay.
I've got that on.
Okay,
the
cool.
agenda for the
Yeah,
next
okay,
one.
cool.
That's great.
Alrighty, thanks. Thank
guys
you.
are creative.
And thank you guys so much for all of your very hard work on that.
Thank you
That
for your
was-
suggestions. I wasn't mad at you. I've been up since 4 AM. There,
That's,
my sister left today and I'm very sad. No,
Aw.
next week, so.
that's,
Oh,
I know,
how long
what
was
this
she here for?
5 days, but it went so.
Where did
quick.
she live?
Syracuse.
Oh.
I know, we see her next week for my grandma's birthday, but I'm like,
but still,
that's a
whenever,
whole week.
no, but like when they leave, that's hard.
Yeah, it
It
is
is hard,
hard,
it
but
took
thank
a
you, you bring a good perspective to things, so thank you.
Absolutely.
Appreciate your
Sorry for,
efforts. No, do not apologize.
Your
I'll see you
team.
guys.
Take
All right,
care.
all right. So what exactly am I doing for this Route 28 thing? What do I have to do? What's my exact homework?
Hold on, let me stop the meeting here. Please.
No problem.
Okay.
We're basically just